like narrowing down a top 10 down to 5 because it forces me to make hard decisions, which for the Game Boy may not be as hard for the folks whose top 5 looks like this. Big mistake there, buddy. You're missing out on a lot of fun. This could be you, and yet it's not. It's me! And here's my top 5 games, starting at number 5, Wario Land. Quick show of hands. Who doesn't own a Virtual Boy? Yeah, you probably made the right choice. And if you want to feel even better about not having a Virtual Boy, there's Wario Land for the Game Boy. A great substitute for Wario Land on Virtual Boy, in my opinion, the best game for it, which sure is kind of a different experience unless you make it kind of the same, but what you have is a solid platformer for the Game Boy. If you're looking for good Game Boy games, odds are you appreciate solid platformers, and that's what Wario Land is. A clever deviation from the side-scrolling Mario games, and while the later Wario games did more to differentiate themselves by incorporating more puzzle elements, the first Wario Land is more old-fashioned, and I always appreciated this take from Nintendo. In addition to having Wario's giant butt that can do giant butt stuff like smash blocks and enemies, I wish my butt could do that. Oh, how I envy the power of Wario's butt. Wario also has various power-ups you can find, a signature of most good platformers, though gotta say that I think the horns are still my favorite since they enhance your butt power. The game uses a map similar to most Mario side-scrollers, has clever level progression, different worlds, bosses. It's everything you'd want, and yet I've always felt it got overlooked for the more well-known Mario platformers, as well as the later games in the Wario Land series that are more series-defining, admittedly, but doesn't change how much fun this game is to me. Have you ever had a game that growing up made you feel this is my game? Nobody else you knew had it, felt like something special just for you. That's this game for me. Until I looked online decades later and found tons of randos also like it. So hey, maybe you can be one of those randos to me, and I can be that rando to you. But moving on to number 4 of my list, quick question for you. Have you ever found yourself caught in a love triangle with 2 games? I have, with Donkey Kong, me and Donkey Kong. Actually, better throw Nanners in there and call it a love rectangle. How the heck did we get so much Kong in 1 year? Both games coming out in 1994, but as much as I have a soft spot for the first Donkey Kong Country, gosh darn it, do I love Donkey Kong for the Game Boy. It's like the classic Donkey Kong arcade game, but just way more fleshed out, more resembling a classic platformer like the 2D Mario games, in addition to the classic sensibilities of the arcade original, giving you the best of both worlds in a combo platter of awesomeness. There are games on my top 5 list that I might have a hard time convincing people of, but this ain't one of them. People love this game, and I'm no different. This game is crazy long too, which is very unusual for a Game Boy game. Definitely get your money's worth. While the original arcade game's limited number of stages might leave more to be desired, the Game Boy game will leave you begging for mercy as you're drowning in enjoyment. And with Shigeru Miyamoto having worked on the game, what could be more appropriate? This game is the full package, but just be careful is what I'll say, because other video games might kinda suck after playing this one, which has got me thinking, dang, I actually enjoy the Game Boy even more than I thought, because I figured Donkey Kong would be number 1 until I realized there are other games I somehow enjoyed even more. The people with this as their top 5 are crazy, I tell ya. But next game on my list is Pokemon, the trading card game. Haha, that's right. For those who don't know, then understandably you don't know, but for those who do know, correct me if I'm wrong, you're thinking, bow wow, my doggy's got some bark. I'm telling you, this game has some hardcore fans, and I'm one of them. The battles in the Pokemon card game are arguably even more fun than the battles in the regular Pokemon games. Problem is, everything involved with playing the actual Pokemon card game. You need to set up all the cards, own the right cards, not care about bending them, and perhaps the hardest thing of all, finding another person who has free time and actually wants to play, assuming they know how, and if not, you gotta teach them. Sure, it's possible, but the Game Boy game is way more reliable. Plus, the rules are all just automatically applied, and I really enjoy the classic video game progression of battling computer enemies that get better and better as you move along. You build up your deck without the hassle of spending real money on packs, plus call me a Gen 1 homer, because I don't really care about anything but the original 151, which is what you get with this game. Later Pokemon just feel a little too alien-like to me, whereas most of the Gen 1 Pokemon are more closely related to real-life animals. And I like animals, you know, like dogs, rhinos, Twinkies. Naturally, this game was massively overlooked by many due to the crazy success of the regular Pokemon games, as well as the crazy success of the regular Pokemon cards. And don't get me wrong, playing Pokemon Red is maybe the most magical experience I ever had as a kid, but I think now I enjoy this card game more. The actual Pokemon card game is fun. If you've only ever collected the cards, I'd encourage you to play the game, and this is a great way to do it. Next up, at number 2, we've got Link's Awakening. Some might prefer the Switch remake, which is essentially the same game but with different visuals, but the Game Boy original is special for being one of the very few sprite-based Zelda games, some of which weren't even made by Nintendo themselves but Capcom. And nothing against Capcom, but these two made by Nintendo are the best to me. Some people even like Link's Awakening more than A Link to the Past. I wouldn't go that far personally, but it's definitely right up there. The puzzles are clever, the various items and weapons you get are all fun, some really good dungeons, solid bosses. The story is really interesting too, and it's one of those stories you definitely don't want to spoil for anyone who has yet to play it. Link dies! Nah, I'm just kidding. Oh, but by the way, this is also a good example of a Game Boy game that plays better on the Game Boy Color, kind of like pretty much every Game Boy game, but this one especially because it has this DX version that is specifically tailored to take advantage of the Game Boy Color hardware, which I'm not doing here because I have it plugged into the Super Game Boy. A great way to play Game Boy games since you can plug it into a Super Nintendo, and it's hard to imagine many people wanting to play Game Boy but having no interest whatsoever in Super Nintendo. Though I've seen crazier. I have seen people who toss out the cream filling and just eat the cookie part of an Oreo. Also, for those wondering about the controller, it was made by Hori back in the day, and I'm not sure if the price sucks nowadays. Yep, just checked and the price seems to suck now. Bummer. But now for my number 1 game. A game that I've certainly raved about on my channel before. It's Cat Trap. I was very iffy on whether or not I'd like this game when I first bought it. I mean, looking at the cover art, it's like, what am I getting into? Especially since I first played this game as an adult, so no nostalgia attached to this one, and yet it feels like a game I spent a ton of hours playing as a kid. Such a comfort. This game nails the Game Boy experience of a game that utilizes puzzle elements while being super easy to play with tons of challenge to spare, and I mean tons of challenge. There are 100, that's right, 100 stages, which start off easy enough, only to start getting super challenging. What's nice though is the game lets you choose whichever stage you want at any point. So if you get stuck on a stage, then you can always just try a different one, as opposed to, you know, the choices you'd be left with if you couldn't. You can also just rewind what you did as many times as you want, and because your character can't die, it only makes sense, encouraging experimentation as you grapple with the tough challenges at hand. I'm intentionally making lots of mistakes in this footage to show you the rewind feature. Yeah, let's go with that. But yeah, I had to put this game as my number 1 because every time I play it, I always end up playing it for a really long time, like hours if I can. Even when you're stuck on a stage, it is fun to play around with different ideas and see what progress you can make. Stick with it long enough and you'll figure it out. The only thing that can defeat you in this game is yourself and maybe your obligations. There's some presents for you in the kitty litter box. Happy birthday! Presents 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 in the kitty litter box. But there we have it. That's my top 5. I'm sure there will be folks out for my blood for leaving Pokemon off the list, but that's okay. That's what my go-to hiding spot is for. Would be curious to hear what any fellow Game Boy fans' top 5s are, though. I'm sure you've got some of the games I considered putting on. Was tough narrowing it down to 5. But with that, leave your comment down below, and I will see ya in the next video.
He's the retro bird, yeah, and he's talking about video games. He's the retro